Um, what does it mean to be Don't Worry in 2025? I think just being in a band for me um, gives me a lot of meaning and purpose. I never try to allow it to become my sole meaning or purpose. It never has been, and I'm sure it never will be. But it's super important to me to have a creative outlet. And, you know, I started playing guitar and stuff when I was a teenager and always wanted to be in a band and didn't have the confidence to be in a band. Eventually kind of worked up that confidence. I was in a couple of bands before this one, so was Sam. And then we met each other and made this one, and it felt great, and it still does feel great. And I think that had Sam and I not met, we probably wouldn't have, maybe neither of us would have been in a band for as long as we have been in this band, you know? And as we've already said earlier tonight, there were a couple of points where we weren't sure if it was going to continue. And so the fact that it has is a big feat, really, you know? Like, it's been more than 11 years now since we first had our first practice, coming up to 11 years since the first demo EP was recorded. And to still be doing it 60 or 70 songs later, you know, feels amazing. And playing shows is the funnest thing that I do in my life. And traveling around with our bandmates is also very fun, and it's an adventure, and it's camaraderie, and I feel very lucky to be able to do that and to have that in my life. So I think that's what Don't Worry means for me in 2025. What about you, Sam?
Great. Yeah, I think when I look back on it, it just feels nuts, really. Like, that we've been doing it for so long. Like, I was 20 when we started the band, and I'm 31 now. Yeah. So it's like the whole of my 20s. And yeah, it's just like incredible. I think, yeah, like I was saying earlier, I just feel grateful to still be doing it, to be honest. Like, there's definitely been moments where it would have been easy to like quit. And I think a lot of our peers, you know, that were in bands when we were growing up, you know, real life gets in the way. Like, it's really hard being in a band. Like, you have to, I don't know, and especially if you're not particularly successful, like, which we're not. Yeah. I mean, it depends how you define success, but like, in a financial sense, you know, and that just makes it even harder, you know, because we all have to like work full-time jobs and do it. So I just feel like proud of us for still doing it, you know, and we're still doing it because in a way it's easy, you know, like it's easy because of the relationships that we've built like over the years and like the way we work and like, you know, also that like lack of expectation as well, because like I think because of our experience now, we're at a point where we don't have like the lofty dreams that we had when we were younger and the expectations that come along with that. But we're also not jaded, you know, like we're still excited and we still want to do stuff and we still like want to push the music. And so I think that there's a lot of freedom in that. But it also just makes you feel you're just more relaxed about it in general. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't stress out about it too much anymore, I don't think. I mean, like, but we still get shit done, you know, and it's because we're excited about it. And yeah, I think it's just important for everyone to have something like that, you know. It's an outlet. It's like, yeah. But no, I'm very proud. And actually, I was speaking to Al earlier in the van, and I think that like the current moment is like the best it's ever been, you know. Like, it doesn't feel like the end of something. In a way, it feels like just like we've had lots of fresh starts over the years, and this like latest one feels like the most exciting one to me anyway. Like, you know, with the lineup of the band we've got, the way we're operating this new record, so yeah, I'm like, don't see any reason for it to stop anytime soon, you know. And like, it's cool to look back on the fact we've done it all this time, but in some ways, like in my head, we're like the new band, Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, hope that answers the question. The one that sticks in my head um, most is from Something to Tell You. All the Gopniks in Kiev and all the geezers in Walthamstow. What's the bit before? Is put the chairs in the garden and pull the beers, get the tins out the larder.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah,
there's
I love that.
I know you said you wanted a clip for social media, but we can chop this up. There's a really, really ridiculous a double entendre, whatever you call it, in that line. So I say, put the chairs in the garden and get the tins out the larder. And previous to that, I say, to all the Gopniks in Kiev and all the geezers in Walthamstow. And a larder is a cupboard where you might keep food and drinks. but a larder is also a Soviet car that's made of like paper mache, essentially, that would have been very common in Ukraine. You probably still see them in Ukraine, but certainly in the 70s, 80s, 90s, they would have been super common in Ukraine. So I'm speaking to both the Gopniks and the geezers when I say get the tins out the larder, because I'm telling you, you'll never make... What do I say? Put the chairs in the garden and get the tins out the larder, because I'm telling you, you'll never fix anyone else by just loving them harder.
That's a good one.
Sam says, you know that we need artists to be baristas. Which, you know, for me to elaborate on that for you, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get it right, is obviously a comment on society and the economy and how many people who are artists also have to have another job, often a full-time job. We all have full-time jobs, and when we were younger, we had full-time jobs that were less lucrative, less good, less fun, less nice to do. And I suppose a lot of people who are baristas who make coffee for a living probably feel that way. And so, you know, society views that as, well, these people are still going to make art. Why should they be paid to make their art? They can just be baristas, or they can work in fast food or whatever. And that will pay them their wages, and they're still going to make the art anyway. So the government and, you know, people in positions of power don't necessarily feel like they have to provide any kind of funding or nurture young artists. Yeah, they don't value art. So we're making art and talking about that, which I think is nice.
So we didn't shoot it. We had nothing to do with it. That picture on the cover of Idealism is by a artist called Jim Brown. He's from Harlow originally. He doesn't live in Harlow anymore, but he's a fantastic artist. Used to be part of like the artist studios that were in the town centre in Westgate and Eastgate, and then later like down at Panda Mill. He's a fantastic visual artist, but also has an amazing catalogue of photos from Harlow, like across the years. And so back in 2016, when we released our EP Bane of My Lifestyle, he had an exhibition of his photos in Westgate in the town centre, and we went to see it and spoke to Jim and was like, would love to use one of your photos for the EP. So that photo's by Jim, and he was like, well, up for it, super chill, lovely guy. And then when we were talking about the artwork for this album, we didn't have a huge budget, so we were just like, what can we do that's like not too intensive, but will look like visually striking. We always want the record covers to be like striking, you know. I think that's always been really important to us. Like we love album artwork by other bands and stuff. So yeah, I was just like, should we ask Jim to send some pictures? Because we sort of had this Harlow theme running throughout all of our stuff, really. And yeah, he sent a few across, and that was one of the ones that stood out. That's from 2001, and it's in front of the weird little building on the right. Was a pub called the Hummingbird, which is no longer there. And you got one of the tower blocks in the background, little like tombstone, and then this lovely old lady in the front who's probably also no longer with us. Yeah, it's a fantastic photo.
It is a fantastic photo. Big up Jim Brown. If anyone from Harlow is watching or reading this and maybe knows who the old lady on the front of our new album is, do get in touch because we'd love to know. She's actually facing away from the camera, and so it would be really hard to identify. But if your mum or nan lived, or maybe even great nan, lived in the kind of Waterhouse Moor area of Harlow or nearby in 2001 and wore a beige coat, then it might be her.
Yeah, I think it's like undeniably super important, and like, I mean, I don't know how obvious it would be to anyone that's not from Harlow. Do you know what I mean? Like, there have been times in the past where like I've mentioned really specific things in lyrics, and it's like no one is. People from Harlow probably ain't gonna get that. Yeah. Like, so try not to do as much of that anymore. But like, I think more generally, it's just a super inspiring place for me. Like growing up, do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I don't live in Harlow anymore, but like it's, I don't know, it's kind of like the backdrop to everything for me, and like I just find it constantly inspiring. Just the kind of history of it, like the art, the sculptures, the landscaping of it, the design of the town, the people as well, and also like the kind of degradation of it over the last like 40, 50 years as well. Do you know what I mean? The way it's declined in certain aspects. Yeah, I think it just, I like probably developed my deep sense of melancholy from growing up in a place like Harlow, but also probably like my sort of musical and artistic sensibilities as well have got a lot to do with growing up here and, you know, being around all of this art and music and stuff. So yeah.
The interesting fact about Dance With Me, I'm Dyslexic is it was recorded at a studio which I believe at the time was called GTA, which may or may not stand for Gravy Train Audio, and I'm sure Dave will correct me if I'm wrong, but it was owned by David Walsh, who now plays drums in Don't Worry, right? So fast forward 10 or so years after that EP, he's, you know, he recorded that EP with us. So Dave recorded Dance With Me, I'm Dyslexic, engineered it, mixed it, I believe, in 2014. And then in 2024, Dave joined Don't Worry to play drums. So that's kind of come full circle, and we never saw that happening, and that's really cool for us. And Dave might be able to hear us speaking. I'm not sure if he's gone home or not, but Dave used to sing in a band called The World on Fire that were from Harlow, you know, going back sort of 10, 15 years ago, maybe even slightly longer than that, who were definitely influential on both me and Sam. And had Dave's band not done the things that they did at the time that they did them, it may not have felt as possible to me and Sam to make a band that might have been able to play outside of town and might have been able to record an album that sounds like a band that you might hear on the radio. And The World on Fire did all of those things whilst we were still trying to figure out how to, you know, write songs and stuff like that. So they were definitely influential on us. And so it's very cool that Dave now plays drums in our band. But Dave also owns the studio that we're sitting in right now, along with another guy called Sam Russell. And Sam Russell engineered the guitars and vocals on Idealism, on the new album, and mixed the whole thing as well. So Sam Russell and Dave owned the studio that we recorded Dance With Me, I'm Dyslexic in 2014, and the same two people now own this studio, which is called 84 Audio, where we recorded a big portion of Idealism 10 years afterwards. There you go. Yeah, we started writing some of the songs from Idealism very soon after we released our 2022 album, Remorseless Swing. And then we went for a period of time where we weren't sure if there was going to be a third Don't Worry album. But, you know, we kept the faith and carried on, and, you know, it became clear that we were going to carry on and record more music and play more shows. And at around that time, actually, our previous drummer, Ben, who played on As If By Magic and Get Out and some other songs that we released a few years back, he's got a studio down in South London, and he kind of just said to me and Sam, like, guys, like, just come along and start demoing those new songs that you've been working on. Like, I think you guys should carry on, and he would like to be involved in the process. And had Ben not done that, then, you know, we may have taken a lot longer to do this album, and who knows if it would have happened, you know. And Sam and I would go after work to Ben's studio, and then Alex joined us in like a month or two afterwards, and we'd go kind of like once a week after work and just work on demos. And that process lasted for several months. You know, it started in 2020, maybe even late 2022, went definitely into throughout most of 2023. Ben then actually recorded the final drums on Idealism in that studio. Alex sort of tucked himself away and recorded all of his bass parts and a lot of synthesizer parts and other additional kind of production elements at home, like just in his flat. And that really did inform the way that some of these tracks sound, particularly Name on the Wall and Middle Finger, which was one of the singles. There's a lot of kind of 80s inspired synthesizers on there. That was Alex's kind of influence on that track. But me and Sam knew that we didn't want to record at home. And we also knew that we wanted to record it in a different space to Ben's studio. So at around that same time, we were in talks with David Walsh, about joining our band as a drummer going forward, like our proper new drummer that's going to play all our shows and work on future music with us. And he said, you know, just come along to 84 Audio and see what it's like, you know, just have like a little sort of tester afternoon, and if you like the way it sounds, then you can record the rest of the album there. So we did that. And we worked with Sam Russell on that, who's the in-house engineer here. And he was absolutely brilliant, made us feel very at home, made us feel like our songs were really good, and knew exactly what we were trying to achieve and worked very closely with us to achieve it. And we've definitely, in my opinion, Sam, we've definitely got closer to how we wanted the album to sound like than we've ever done before, like way closer, you know? Maybe no band has ever hit it 100% on the head, but mate, for me, it's like, you know, it's 95% there at least, you know, and that's way, way better than we've ever done in the past. So
I think we could tell that, like, as we were doing it, like, I mean, like, it was unbelievable how Sam could just, like, you know, we didn't really use too much, like, we didn't mess around with too much different gear for the guitars. We kind of just used our own amps and guitars and pedals mainly. We switched things around a little bit, but, like, even so, like, we just kind of, like, told Sam what we thought we wanted it to sound like, and then it was kind of almost like instantly he could, like, get that going, do you know what I mean? And we're just sitting in the control room, and I'm like, this sounds perfect already. Yeah. I've just done, like, one take, and I'm like, this is great.
And people comment on our guitar tones, and they love it, and they think that we've always had really good guitar tones, and, you know, we both pay a lot of attention as to which guitar we play, which pedals we use, which amps we use, stuff like that. But Sam Russell definitely played a big part in the way that those guitars sound.
I think because of that as well, we were able to bash it out super quick. Like, because I think we were doing sessions again, sort of like after work, like coming up to the studio and like doing like 3-4 hours as much as we could basically. But we ended up doing like at least 2 songs like in every session. So it was like we were doing like 2+ guitar tracks and overdubs for 2 songs, like in a 3-4 hour session, and we were doing like one of those like at least every week whenever we could. And then we did the vocal, and so just like it actually didn't take that long. It was probably only like a couple of months really, or a few months of like, you know, doing once a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so condensed, you know, it wouldn't have been that long, you know, if you did it like in days in a row. Yeah. But yeah, it was like just felt super like easy and comfortable. Yeah, it was great. Nice. Big up 84 Audio. Wow.
It's just like what do you call it? Synesthesia. Is that what it's called?
Is it? Right.
I don't have that, so.
I think it's like it's blue to me, man. And is that just because there's blue on
the vinyl record?
On the vinyl, and like sort of black and white images kind of give like a blue tone, don't they? Yeah. But yeah, it's blue, but not in like a sad way. Blue in like a
more like a sort of I'm blue.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Yeah. Like that, yeah.
Exactly like that. Yeah. That's the greatest song of all time.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a better answer than that for this question, and I wish that I did.
Black like my heart.
Black like my heart. No, I think it is grey because the album covers a black and white photograph, and the vinyl, albeit it has blue in the middle, it's a clear record with blue inside, which we're stoked on. And for me, that kind of grayscale evokes not just Harlow, but any kind of town like that anybody around the world could grow up in. Anyone that doesn't come from like somewhere really cool like London or New York or whatever, that grew up in a normal place, right? You probably think that aspects of your town are grey, either literally when you look at them, or like they make you feel grey because they're neither good nor bad. And sort of arcing back to what I was talking about earlier, trying deliberately to make it a little bit more positive. Like, for me, grey is not, without trying to sound too wishy-washy, like it's grey. It's not black. It's not white. It's grey. It's in the middle somewhere. And for me, that kind of represents like, like a bit of a fresh start, or at least coming out or into a fresh start, or a new period of time. Something different. It represents switching things up for me. Yeah.
I've got a 1994 Japanese Fender Telecaster, going into a Fender Princeton 68. And my pedals, I've got a Boss reverb one that I can't remember what it's called. It's got like a few different reverbs on it. I've got a Tube Screamer, and I've got a Hudson Electronics dual broadcast, and a tuner, and a G7 capo that I always lose.
Yeah, man. If G7 want to send us any capos, then let us know. They're very expensive. I play a 2012 American Deluxe Fender Stratocaster. It's pink. And that goes into a tuner, just the Boss one. And then that goes into a Earthquaker Devices Westwood, which is like a transparent overdrive that sounds heavy if you dig in, and more subtle if you play softly. And then that goes into a... Damn, what's that company called, man? It's called a Notaclon, and it looks like IKEA furniture. It looks like an IKEA schematic, and you build your own copy of the Klon Centaur, which is like a mythical bullshit pedal that like guitar nerds like really obsess over. You know, like some dude made, I don't know how many, but not that many of them back in the day, and they sound a certain way, and people were trying to achieve that. So it was actually a present, but I got a kit to build my own one by the company that make the Charlie Brown and stuff like that. I forgot what they're called. JHS. There we go. JHS, not a clon. And then that goes into a Electro Harmonix Big Muff, but the op amp version, which sounds like the album Siamese Dream by Smashing Pumpkins. So it's based off of a very specific Big Muff that was around during that period of time that sounds a certain way. And then on the album, that all goes into a Dr. Z Maz 38 amp, which is like a sort of a boutique amp based off of old Marshall Plexi amps. And I think I recorded, the speakers that we recorded were just like a Marshall 412. But since the album's, you know, been finished, I've actually replaced that Dr. Z amp with just a Marshall JCM 800, and I'm fucking stoked on it. It sounds great. It's just like rock in a box. I love it. Not played a gig of it yet. About to do that. Other gear on the record, I think Ben used Ludwig drums and I don't know what cymbals, metal ones. And then Al, I think, direct in all the bass, man, on his Fender jazz bass. Al's got a bunch of cool pedals. He could describe them better than I could. But yeah, he's really good at making things sound good on the old laptop and that. And our friend Luke also let us borrow his really nice Gibson J45, made in America one, that I played on the song Everything.
And it's also on a bunch of other tracks, like just as a little layer.
That's right, yeah. There's the gear. Rig rundown. guitarcenter.com.
It's a violin, and it's played by my ex-colleague, a lovely man called Kai Dudley, who he's an amazing violin player, but he mainly plays like folk fiddle, Irish and Scottish style. Yeah, and I just thought it would be cool to have him play on the record at some point, and I was just thinking about songs, and By the Thingy felt like the right kind of vibe for it. And yeah, it was great. Like he literally he recorded it at home on with a pretty basic setup. I think I didn't really give him much of a brief. I was just like, just play some violin from this point in the track onwards, and he sent like 3 takes, and we just used one of them. It was perfect. No edits. Yeah, no edits. Just like whacked it in, and like he just smashed it out. Yeah, so incredible. But yeah, if you're ever like, he's moving to Glasgow soon, but he does a lot of sessions around North London. So I think it's Mascara Bar in Stoke Newington. He plays there quite a lot, so check it out. The like folk jam there.
Yeah, just to add to that, I've actually never met Kai. So Kai, if you're watching that, thanks very much, mate. Sounds absolutely amazing. Yeah, so on Friday the 12th of September 2025, we are playing at the Lexington in Islington in North London, and that's going to be like our kind of album party, and I think Kai's going to join us on stage to play By the Thingy on the violin, so that'll be great. And just lastly on that, of somebody of Irish heritage, it just feels really nice to have included something that sounds like that on a Don't Worry album, you know, because we're not a folk band. We've always loved music like that, and I certainly have, like right from a very early age, long before I ever joined a rock band or anything like that. There's always been like folky elements in our music, and we've always appreciated folk and tried to incorporate the bits of it that make sense to us, but we've definitely never done something that sounds like folk music. And I think that last part of By the Thing he does, and I don't think people would be expecting to hear that on one of our records, and so both to strangers and also like family members and family friends, like I think they'll think that it's cool that, you know, some distinctly Irishness is showing through on the album. So yeah, thanks, Kai. Yeah, so I think the sound that you're referring to is actually bass guitar through like an envelope filter of some description that Alex recorded, and yeah, that adds an awful lot to that record.
I didn't know you were still here.
Yeah, I've fucking gone.
Just crouch down here.
It won't be long, by the way,
Hello.
mate.
What's the question?
Sam said there's
get
a
on here.
bubble sound on Name on the Wall.
Bubbles out. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That is a fuck. That's a Boss bass multi effects, and I think it's called something like an ME20B, something like that. I got it when I was like
a cheap multi-effects pedal, right?
no, not at the time. It's probably worth about a tenner now.
Right.
But like I got it when I was about 15, and it was like didn't really know what pedals were or anything, and like the guy in the guitar shop just sold it to me like, oh, it can do like everything. It's got like an EQ, it's got a compressor, it's got distortion, and also an envelope filter. And like when I was trying to come up with like a bass part for Name on the Wall, I came across like this sort of like eighth pattern, like palm muty thing. I was like, it just needs something a bit more, and like dug that out of like the wardrobe, blew the cobwebs off, and put that on it. But yeah, that's that. So never get rid of old gear, because you never know when you need it. But yeah.
Thanks, Al. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, mate. We'll be ready soon. We can go home in a minute. Yeah, Idealism is the third album by Don't Worry. We're really proud of it. We genuinely feel like these are the best songs and the best collection and most cohesive collection of songs that we've ever put together, and also the best sonically that we've ever made too, the best sounding songs from an audio perspective. So we'd really appreciate anyone who takes the time to listen to it. It's available on all the streaming platforms. But even better than that, it's available on vinyl, or you can download it on Bandcamp. These days, some people are downloading things on Bandcamp and then not even bothering to delete the files, to download the files, because it's just a nice way to support bands, because we don't make any money from streaming. I think it's the best record we've ever made. And yeah, please check it out. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have anything to add to that really, but yeah, super proud of the record. It's been nice to see like so many people kind of comment on it, saying really nice things. And yeah, we appreciate anyone who's listening, and especially those who are buying. You know, like I think at the moment it's really important. If you like a band, try and buy something from them, because it's not about the bands making money. It's just like trying to push back against this like crazy new, well, it's not new, but it's been creeping up on us for a while, this crazy new kind of world that we live in with music, where it just feels like, you know, it's not valued. And if you like our music, please support it. Thank you.
Amen. That's a wrap.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate you coming down, man, and asking the questions and taking the time to make the questions. And